It's so great to have you here as well. And last year you did a keynote for RSCon, and that was one of my favorite keynotes of all 4 years. It was just really inspiring. So I really appreciate. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate you being part of RSCon. So I
Of
have to
course.
say that first. And you, at the time when you were doing when you were at ArsCon, you were still working on your book, or your book was just being released at the time? I remember.
Just before, um, yeah, I mean, I pretty much had most of the text in front of me. It was all a matter of editing at that point. But that whole like 6 month period was a big blur to me anyway. So, I mean, when did I do that again?
Well, last time we had it in October, so it hasn't even been like a full year yet. Ah, did I freeze? I can't hear you. No. Okay, Shelly's having a little bit of technical difficulties. Sorry about that. So you can't really hear anything. Let me try closing some windows and maybe that'll help it a little bit here. Well, it's bound to happen. My poor computer has just been through so much lately. So I might have to start doing like the hand signals to you because I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know why I can't hear you. That's so strange. Okay, let's try this again. Hmm, let's see. Oh, you're not on with us anymore. Okay, so I will wait for our next interview to come on. We've had some great interviews so far, haven't we? Some really interesting insight and stories. Um, Thank you, Craig Yen, our first winner with Chuck Sandy's book, English for Spammers. And Craig has been doing an incredible job of tweeting different little tidbits and stuff. So that's really awesome. And he's also part of this as well of RSCon. So you can see him. I believe it's on Saturday that he does his presentation. Um, we are actually supposed to be on a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to have Principal L, and we're going to have Jose Vilson again as well. So, and then we also have Shift Paradigm, Mark Weston, Pernell Rip, and Steve Wheeler, and hopefully John Spencer coming in as well. Oh, there you go! Yay! You're here again.
We made it. We made it. Don't know what happened there. That was weird.
Yeah, that
So
was quite weird. Well, it was in October. That's where I left off. I'll tell you, it was October when I left.
Jesus Christ. So wait a minute. Yeah, no, I was still in the editing process. I mean, the book it was in October and the book it is now are like it's almost a completely different book. So I mean, I'm glad that people enjoyed what they heard, but I hope that they like the one that they got now better.
Um, you know what? I can attest that they do because I have heard a lot. You have a lot of fans, by the way.
Just trying to be like you when I grow up.
Well, then you might experience a growth problem because I don't ever seem to grow much. But um, yeah, Rafran, so I know she's a big fan. John Spencer was telling me what a delight it was to hang out with you at ISTE, and loved your book as well. I've heard
Appreciate
a
that.
lot of people just really talk about your book and how profound it is. Do you want to share with us a little bit about well, first of all, where can they get the book?
They can get it pretty much wherever books are sold. I obviously recommend getting it directly from the publisher because I'm fairly independent, and even though Haymarket has a really big roster of really awesome people like Dave Zirin, Howard Zinn, and Aaron Dotsie Roy, it's important for us to support our independent publishers. So that's kind of where I want everybody to get it from. But if they don't want to get it from there, they can go to Amazon, they can go to Barnes and Noble, get it online. So wherever they want.
Now, your book is called, and I love the title because, it really speaks to me. And I think it'll speak to a lot of teachers, and not only teachers, I think it speaks to a lot of students and parents as well, which is this is not a test, and then a new narrative on race, class, and education. What key points do you want your readers to walk away with, and what kind of motivated you to write this?
I want them to walk away with everything, but if if they can't walk away with everything, a few things are important. Number one, just building relationships with students, and not so much in a like, oh, everything's peachy king sort of way, but in a, you know our cultures may be the same, they may be different, but I need to know you as a person and know everything about, well, I need to know enough about you that I'm not trying to save you, but I'm trying to actually teach you to be the best person that you could possibly be. I can show you a different pathway. So that's the biggest thing I would like people to take away from it. Of course, there's a whole lot of other pieces, including education technology, where I'm asking people to think about becoming stronger in their pedagogy and worry less about the tools that we use, which I know is a big argument in this audience specifically. Um, like, how do we use smart boards? How do we use all these other like tech tools, not as the defining thing that makes us better teachers, but as one pathway for us to get students to learn. And that's critical for me. Um, and then third, and perhaps most importantly, that every teacher comes into their work from a different lens, right? Like, everybody has this different lens, and we're all hoping to get to the same point, which is students learning. But then, how we go about our business, changes the conversation a bit. What lens are you coming from, and does it always incorporate everybody? Is it as inclusive as possible? And there's so many more things I could say about the book, but those are the three things I'm always thinking about: the student relationships, education technology, and how we as teachers come into our work.
Now, and I know your book is full of passion, and you always speak from you're very real, and you definitely speak from the heart, and I think that translates as well in your writing, and I know you do poetry as well, which is something that I really admire from you. Uh, but it sounds like this book, in a way, has excited you, like given you new energy. Do you want to tell us a little about your writing process? Because I know for me, after writing two books, I'm like conked out.
I haven't really read the book. I don't since I last like put it out there, since maybe March, and I actually handed it in around or like late March, but I haven't really read it since mid March, and I've been like looking for different things, different words, but I haven't touched the book because it's one of those things where it's like I don't want to be reminded of just how taxing it was, like how much it really took out of me to be that vulnerable, that I guess, that out there with some of the things that I was thinking, and knowing how much danger there is in teachers writing about their personal experience in the classroom is so different. It'd be one thing if I was just writing about like math, and that was all I was writing about. Then there would be no problem. Yes, there would be maybe some pettiness and whatever, but I think generally people are okay with that. But for me to put my personal views out there as an educator, and then hoping that it becomes successful, and then seeing that there is talk about it, it adds a different level of risk. Like you're becoming, you're already putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, but then people already have a personal thing about it, about how you write. I mean, normally my writing process is like, okay, I've been thinking about it throughout the day. Here's something that, I think ought to be addressed. And so I take a good, 3 to 4 minutes, just trying to figure out where I'm going to start from. It usually starts with some sort of story, and then I get into like what the point is, and just blow from there. And I think that seems to be a good way to approach things, like having a story that is attached to a point that you're trying to make, perhaps later on. This book kind of had that approach, but even more so, right? Because I have more pages. I could be like, I can write for as long as I want, however I want. I try to make it, tight enough where people felt like, oh, I'm getting exactly what everybody's saying in this book. But then I made it broad enough where, you can't just box me in. You can't just say, oh, this is an education book. Oh, this is just a teacher book. No, it's like, it's more than that. So that's kind of where I landed in this book.
I think you bring up some really great points about the writing process, and you know how it can be a little bit scary as well, because on top of everything you said, it's kind of this permanence out there. I mean, those are your words. They're in print, and they're going to be there 100 years later. So it's kind of like this big commitment you're married to for life. But I love your words. I think they're really inspirational as well. Um, I heard that also you tend to add a little bit of personal stories about you growing up as well. Like in your work and in your writing in general, you tend to tell about your personal experiences as well. Um, Doing that, I mean, what kind of reaction do you get from all this? Because it's like people also learn about you and kind of really personal things, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, here's the reason why I do this story piece is because I often find, and this is a criticism of publishers. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go after every author you're gonna have, and and perhaps had before me just now. But it seems to me that teachers often get boxed into you ought to write about pedagogy, and we're going to make this as, thin as possible so we can talk about Common Core and sell 50,000 copies to districts, instead of saying, this teacher might actually have a story behind what they do, and we need to delve into these sorts of topics because it's a lot more nuanced than we're giving it credit for. We don't give our experiences in the classroom and out of the classroom enough due within our stories. Like, there are stories out there as to why we became teachers and why we want to be in the classroom, that don't often get out. And then, of course, the few people who do that, 9 out of 10 of them leave. The 5 or 6 books that I can think of, I won't name them, but the ones that have some story attached to it and have some critique of what happened in whatever the school district is, they left the year after they wrote it, right? So what does that say? I think it tells me that I may be on the right track in terms of trying to get teacher stories to come back into what we consider a book, and then saying, okay, these are the stories that we as teachers come in with. We are not just one type of teacher. We are not just this, that, whatever. Like, we are a multitude of things, and we want a multitude of things for our children. And that's kind of how I think about the personal stories. Like, if I keep adding more personal stories, how much more vulnerable can we make ourselves so we can open ourselves up to be more human to our students?
And I think that's really it becomes more. It's like you get this personal relationship, and also um, they get to see you as not only like their teacher and role model, but it's like I think they get to see you as a real person who went through things too. Like that kind of gains. I mean, I think that gains them kind of a respect for you as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's weird though because I also try to make sure that there is this difference between Jose and Mr. Vilson, which I've highlighted in my book a lot, and in my writing a lot. Um, but then it's like this book kind of melds them together. It's like you can't escape either one, and by the time this book was published, everybody started searching me on Google like, "Oh my God, he has a book out. He has a book. He's got like $1 million. He must be making mad money, yo." And I was like, "Kids, that's not quite it, but I'm happy you're happy." But I think they do see me in a different light because I do have this added dimension of, oh, he also writes. Like he has a life. He gets, he doesn't just hide in the closet from 3 p.m. till 8 o'clock the next morning. Like he goes home and he has a life.
A very busy life and creative life, I should say.
I'm glad you think so.
And so what's your next project? What are you doing next? Where can people find you? Because I know you do a lot of different types of conferences, and I know last year you did a march as well. And so where can they see you and maybe get a signed copy of your book?
God. Well, there's only so many places I can be. However, I am going to be in the following cities. I'll be in Chicago, Philly, um, Bay Area, North Carolina, and of course, I live in New York. So if you're in New York, I'm always here, or in the general New York City area. I'm trying to find my way into Boston and Los Angeles at some point. Um, and of course, I will be there. Well, I already asked Errol for the BAMI Award, so I will be in Washington D.C. and I'm hoping to organize
Wow.
a book reading and or signing that weekend.
Oh.
So if we can work around that, that'd be great. Look at me putting it out there, right? So if you're going to that, then most certainly I would love to have something attached to that event. Um, but that's kind of where I'll be. And you can request me, of course, through my email, whatever, my website, thejosevilson.com. You can always contact me there if you wish, and on Twitter at the JLV, of course.
And we have a little bit of time, and I know this is kind of like a surprise springing onto you.
Ta-da!
While we wait for other guests, but maybe you could go out and read a little something or recite a little something. You don't have to. I'm putting you in the spot only because I love to hear you.
But está bien. Can I grab my book?
Yes, yes, we will allow this.
I didn't expect that, but give me a
I know.
second.
I don't know why I didn't warn you beforehand, but in a way, it's kind of good, I think.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right. I can't curse in this program, but I do have a little something. Let me see. Okay, okay. I know exactly what I'm going to read.
Okay.
Um, okay, 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 okay. Come on. Let me see. No. Yes. Here we go. Um. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So, just about everyone gets a seat at the proverbial table to design the curriculum. Okay, wait, back up. This is from my Common Core chapter. If you have the book already, I am reading from Getting Less Than You Give on Common Core State Standards. That's deep in the book, so it's about part three.
Oh, and
Just
I think that, can you adjust your video a little? I think you went off a little bit. There we go.
and all you see is my forehead, right? That's awesome. The talking forehead. So here we go. Here we go. Oh wait, let me retweet this from Craig. Hi, Craig. Thank you. Um, just about everyone gets a seat at the proverbial table to design the curriculum, except the people executing the curriculum. Americans would not expect to see a military general without experience in the field or a head surgeon who's never operated on anyone. Yet we trust people with no classroom experience to tell us what and how our students should learn. part of the problem is that people can now make the case that most teachers do not have experience to design curriculum. So many teachers now come to the profession via alternate certification programs that the average teacher's years of experience have dwindled. When it comes to our own most vulnerable students, we've turned teaching into a domestic Peace Corps. No disrespect to the Peace Corps, but the fact that this is our first year of teaching, most of us are just trying to survive. The students with the greatest needs ought to have the most experienced and best equipped teachers, ideally teachers who are open to new methods, but who also have their own set of strategies for reaching students. When I was a rookie, I succeeded because my school had veteran teachers of all ages. Without this mix, it's hard to create a learning community for both children and adults. New teachers bring idealism and energy, veteran teachers bring wisdom and pedagogical knowledge. None of it matters if they can't coalesce around the common experience. As far as I'm concerned, standards are training wheels, a baseline teachers can use to build a set of goals. Over time, teachers will assess the effectiveness of the activities they have designed and use teachable moments to their advantage when things don't go according to plan. But the CCSS has allowed publishers to insinuate themselves deeper still into teachers' curricula. They slap Common Core aligned stickers on their products, regardless of whether those products are actually aligned with the standards. They provide online materials that contain glitches and are confusing to navigate in the hopes that teachers try to stay on their own pages as long as possible. Then they can turn around to the districts, show their page view statistics, and say, see, teachers are just not adjusting well to the new technologies. Give us more money to help us fix this. If a teacher still doesn't get it, textbook publishing companies like Pearson are happy to dispatch instructional coaches to come in and provide professional development on the products, not to mention criticism of anyone who dares to question its value. If a teacher still can't be convinced, an assistant principal or a coach might whisper a few things to the principal about said dissident about being out of compliance. Any initiative, even one as intriguing as the Common Core state standards, sows seeds of distrust as long as the structures of our school system stay in place. Because of its rushed and compulsory implementation, the CCSS looks less like an instructional shift and more like a money-making operation. The billions now swimming through public education to pay for third-party professional development, curriculum materials, speakers, and technology should make everyone skeptical. We have CCSS apps on our phones to help us identify which standards belong with which grade, and CCSS t-shirts to help others identify who's been trained in the Common Core. We have CCSS fellowships to identify people who've mastered a set of standards that only came out a few years ago, and big education-focused foundations that force grantees, large and small, to turn their efforts towards Common Core, because this is what we do now. Okay.
Woohoo!
Yay.
That was awesome. And a great treat is they can always check out your keynote from last year where you read a lot of different poetry. And I don't think we censored you last year, so it's some poetry even about growing up and some of the things that you experienced, which was really incredible. So thank you so
Oh
much for
yeah.
joining us again. I one day, I keep thinking I won't have these opportunities to talk with you because you're just, you're like more than, you see these keynotes and stuff and they're aspiring and, I love my PLN, but you always add different stuff to the mix and I just love that. And so I hope that I see you everywhere because, you're just awesome. I think you're awesome.
I I appreciate that, Shelly. I hope I see you soon, right?
Yeah, I was so sad that I missed you at ISTE, but at least I got to hear, that stories that you hung out with other people that I know. So
That's fair. That's fair. We'll find some time. We'll find a day. We'll find a place.
we will. So I'll let you get back to your very busy life, and thank you so much for inspiring us.
I appreciate it, Shelly. Thank you for having me.
I think we're gonna go take a break right now. Just for